Comparison is the thief of joy. That's the phrase that's been on my mind, honestly, all day today. Um, yeah, I don't know about you, but there have been so many different like hobbies and different like things I wanted to get invested in and interested in. But like, I would see people who've been doing it for a long time and just discourage myself. Like, I would tell myself, like, oh, it's not really for me. I'm not really that good and stuff like that. Forgetting that they're the people that are like really good at what they're doing now, they also had to start at some point, and when they started, they were just as bad. But like, you don't see that, or you don't think about that, because you only see their successes. And that's what, like, most people are interested in. Take like influencers or celebrities and stuff like that. Like, we only know about them once they blow up, or once they get to a certain point where we find interest in. But like, for us, like, for new beginners, you kind of have to start from somewhere, you know and it's like, whole thing is, don't beat yourself up for like not being as good as where you want to be. And also, don't have these high expectations. Have reasonable expectations, actually. Understand that this is your first time doing something, so you're not going to be as good as where you want to be. But if you keep practicing and stay consistent, you will get to that point. And that's the main thing. Just be consistent. um if you're not consistent, how do you expect to reap the benefits if you're not trying and you're not working as hard? And I get it. Like, not every you don't have to be a try hard at everything, obviously. But like, you can't expect yourself to you can't see yourself in a position where you're like one of the pros or one of the best without also putting the work and energy it takes to get to that point. And like, people make it look so easy. um you see someone playing a sport and like, it looks easy, but it looks easy because they've trained to that point where it's like second nature to them. They eat, sleep, breathe whatever it is they do. um I think a good example, like modeling, social media, I would like to see it take off, and it's taken a while. But and so when I see like other creators like making stuff, I'm like, oh, like, I'm interested in this. Or like, oh, like, I don't see what, like, this doesn't seem that difficult. But like, they put in that consistent work consistently throughout however long they started. And I will admit, I for myself, I've been very inconsistent, where it's like, I'll take breaks, I get burnt out, this and that. But like, at the level that these high like top people are, like, they've found a way to like manage it, how to handle, certain things. They also like understand, like, they see something that we don't see. And the only way that we'll be able to see what they see is if you do it enough times, where to that point you've seen like every possibility and you know how that works. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah, I think I'm getting somewhere with that, honestly. Um yeah, and especially like, another thing is, when you take like where you want to be in life, whether that's like financially, or mentally, or whatever. Like, I'd say people do a good job of making it seem like they're in a really good position, but they're actually not. Like, honestly, it's best to really stay in your own lane. Like, there are people out there that like go on like crazy trips, expensive trips, or like they go on trips like a lot. I myself, I don't think, like, like, yeah, I probably could if I wanted to, but then I have to sacrifice something else. Peace of mind, like, I wouldn't be able to pay bills, or like, I'd be struggling to, to make sure I have like enough money and stuff like that, which I personally don't want. Who's to say? By all means, those people might be doing dealing with that. They decided to sacrifice that peace of mind for fun and entertainment and stuff like that. But you wouldn't know because they wouldn't tell you. And why would they why would anyone tell you? You know? You could even be doing that yourself too. Like I'm sure there's somebody out there that's probably seeing you and they're also thinking like, this person is doing like so much better and stuff like that. Whole time they don't know that you're feeling inadequate or insecure and stuff like that. So it's really like, perspective matters and also context. Context matters too because you never get like the full picture of things, which is pretty interesting, honestly. I think another thing is honestly, you should compare yourself to yourself. As in your past version of yourself is what you should compare yourself to. And what I mean by that is in order to know if you're improving or not, you look at where you were at some point versus where you're at now. Take, you know, you started a new hobby, it's been a month. The you that's doing that hobby now is probably way more advanced than the you that first started out because you didn't know what you were doing, you were just jumping into it. Now, take half a year, 6 months, 6 months versus 1 month, or even 6 months versus your first day. Obviously, if you put in the time and the effort, you'll be way higher at that point than you were before. And I think, that's definitely a healthier approach um, at taking things. And don't get me wrong, like, it doesn't hurt to um, check in with others around you just to see if you're like, within that similar standing, but only to a certain extent. Like you can't go overboard or into the deep end and do too much because it kind of ruins things. I think a lot of the times I'll see like with like myself and other people, um, we're in a good spot, but we don't realize we're in a good spot and we take that for granted and we let our thoughts take over us to the point where we start to destroy whatever it is we have. And it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy because it's like you think you're less than where you actually are, like you underestimate yourself, and because you underestimate yourself, you begin to, I guess, kind of project that outwardly, and then all of a sudden you're doing less than what you're capable of, not knowing that you're capable of that. Like, pretty much like don't sell yourself short. And yeah, like honestly, the best way, like you really just have to put yourself out there. That's definitely the bottom line. I feel like that might be like my motto. Just put yourself out there. And you'd be surprised. And challenging yourself too. I feel like if you don't challenge yourself, then you won't get a good idea of like where your strengths and weaknesses lie. And that definitely comes from like, the fear of disappointing yourself or like the fear of um failure and not succeeding. It's no one wants to fail. Everyone wants to succeed and stuff like that. But I feel like failure is where you like develop and grow the most. So you need to be in those low points because that's where you like really learn who you are as a person. And if you can get back up or you can face your fear, you can stare it in the face and say it doesn't control you, then you come out on top way higher than like, if you're just like training and, doing enough and all that.